For the most wild yet most homely narrative which I am about to pen, I neither expect nor solicit belief. Mad indeed would I be to expect it, in a case where my very senses reject their own evidence. Yet, mad am I not, and very surely do I not dream. But tomorrow I die, and today I would unburden my soul. From my infancy, I was noted for the docility and humanity of my disposition. I was especially fond of animals. With these I spent most of my time. I married early, and was happy to find in my wife a disposition not uncongenial with my own. Observing my partiality for domestic pets, she lost no opportunity of procuring those of the most agreeable kind. Pluto, my favorite pet and playmate, was a remarkably large and beautiful cat, entirely black and sagacious to an astonishing degree. I alone fed him, and he attended me wherever I went about the house. Our friendship lasted for several years, during which my general temperament had, I blush to confess it, experienced a radical alteration for the worse. I grew, day by day, more moody, more irritable, more regardless of the feelings of others. My disease grew upon me, for what disease is like alcohol? And at length even Pluto began to experience the effects of my ill temper. One night, returning home much intoxicated, I fancied that the cat avoided my presence. The fury of a demon instantly possessed me. I knew myself no longer. I took from my waistcoat pocket a penknife, opened it, grasped the poor beast by the throat, and deliberately cut one of its eyes from the socket. I blush, I burn, I shudder, while I pen the damnable atrocity. When reason returned with the morning, I experienced a sentiment half of horror, half of remorse, but it was, at best, a feeble and equivocal feeling, and the soul remained untouched. I again plunged into excess, and soon drowned in wine all memory of the deed. At first, I had so much of my old heart left as to be grieved by the animal's avoidance, but this feeling soon gave place to irritation and the spirit of perverseness. It was this unfathomable longing to the soul to vex itself that urged me to continue and finally to consummate the injury I had inflicted upon the unoffending brute. One morning, in cold blood, I slipped the noose about its neck and hung it to the limb of a tree, hung it because I knew that it had loved me, and because I felt it had given me no reason of offense, hung it because I knew that in doing so I was committing a deadly sin that would place my immortal soul even beyond the reach of the infinite mercy of the most merciful God. For months I could not rid myself of the phantasm of the cat. There came back into my spirit a half sentiment of remorse. One night, as I sat in a den of more than infamy, my attention was suddenly drawn to some an object in the darkness. It was a black cat, closely resembling Pluto in every respect, except that this cat had a large, although indefinite splotch of white upon the animal's head. The cat even evinced a disposition to accompany me home, and immediately became a great favourite with my wife. For my own part, I soon found a dislike to it arising within me. By slow degrees, these feelings of disgust and annoyance rose into the bitterness of hatred. I avoided the creature, a certain sense of shame, and the remembrance of my former deed of cruelty, preventing me from physically abusing it. One day she accompanied me, upon some household errand, down the steep stairs to the cellar. The cat nearly thrown me headlong, exasperated me into madness. Uplifting an axe, I aimed a blow at the animal, but was arrested by the hand of my wife. Goaded into a rage more than demontial, I withdrew from her grasp, and buried the axe in her grave. She fell dead on the spot, without a groan. The hideous murder accomplished, I set myself to the task of concealing the body, determined to wall it up in the cellar. My next step was to look for the beast which had been the cause of so much wretchedness, but it appeared that the animal had been alarmed at the violence of my previous anger, and fled. Thus, for one night I soundly and tranquilly slept, even with the burden of murder upon my soul. 2 days passed, and still my tormentor came not. Once again I breathed as a free man. Upon the fourth day of the assassination, a party of the police came into the house, investigating of the premises. Secure, however, in the inscrutability of my place of concealment. I felt no embarrassment whatever. The officers bade me accompany them in their search. I quivered not in a muscle. The police were thoroughly satisfied and prepared to depart. Yet I burned to say, if but one word, by the way of triumph, and to render doubly sure their assurance of my guiltiness.
Ladies, I'd like to have allayed your suspicions. By the by, this is a very well constructed house.
No sooner had the reverberation of my blows sunk into silence than I was answered by a voice from within the tomb, by a cry, at first like the sobbing of a child, quickly swelling into one long, loud, and continuous scream, utterly anomalous and inhuman, such as might have arisen out of hell. In an instant, a dozen stout arms were toiling at the wall. The corpse, already greatly decayed and clotted with gore, stood erect before the eyes of the spectators. Upon its head, with red extended mouth and solitary eye of fire, sat the hideous beast whose craft had seduced me into murder, and whose informing voice had consigned me to the hangman. I had walled the monster up within the tomb.